Hey everyone, welcome in. Buckle up because today's deep dive is taking us straight to the heart of aircraft manufacturing. We're talking about the career of an aircraft assembly supervisor. And let me tell you, this isn't your childhood model airplane kit. We're talking about the big leagues, massive hangars, complex machinery, basically everything that goes into building those incredible aircraft that connect our world. And to guide us through this journey, we've got some awesome RoleCatcher sources lined up that break down everything from the career path and the skills needed to even acing that interview. So if you're ready to get this deep dive off the ground, let's do it. So first things first, what does an aircraft assembly supervisor actually do all day? I mean, we can picture someone on the production floor, clipboard in hand, but RoleCatcher goes way deeper than that. It's not just about supervising a team, it's about orchestrating this whole intricate dance of aircraft assembly. Think scheduling, troubleshooting, making sure those quality control checks are on point. They're the ones making sure everything runs smoothly and safely. And it's not just about keeping the current production line humming. They're also diving deep into those production reports, really analyzing the data to find any bottlenecks or inefficiencies. For example, let's say they notice a recurring delay in a specific stage of the assembly process. A good supervisor won't just accept it. They'll roll up their sleeves, figure out what's causing the holdup. Maybe they'll reorganize workstations or find a way to streamline the delivery of materials. It's about constantly looking for ways to make things better, more efficient. And here's something that really stood out to me: the importance of training.
It's not just about managing a team of seasoned pros. They're also the ones responsible for bringing those new hires up to speed, making sure everyone's trained on company policies and, of course, those all-important safety procedures. You're literally trusting these supervisors with people's lives. So we're talking about a highly skilled role and a ton of responsibility. What really jumps out to you as particularly crucial in the aircraft assembly supervisor's list of responsibilities?
What I find fascinating is that they're not just managing tasks, they're managing people. And the RoleCatcher sources really emphasize that the supervisor isn't just an overseer, they're this vital link between the production floor, the management team, and all these other departments like engineering and procurement. It's like they need to be fluent in multiple languages at once.
Yeah, they've got to be able to talk to the engineers in their language and then turn around and explain things to the folks on the assembly line in a way that makes sense for them too. It's quite a balancing act.
It really is. It's like they're conducting an orchestra, making sure everyone's hitting their notes at the right time to create this amazing final product. And speaking of hitting the right notes, what kind of skills are we talking about here? What does it take to be an aircraft assembly supervisor? One thing that kind of surprised me going through the RoleCatcher guide was the emphasis on what you might call those softer skills. I mean, obviously, you'd expect technical expertise to be like the top priority, right? But they really highlighted things like active listening and social perceptiveness as being super critical in this role. It's not enough to just bark out orders. They really need to be tuned into what their team is saying, picking up on any concerns, creating that environment where people feel comfortable speaking up. Especially when it comes to safety, that's huge. And then there's that whole social perceptiveness thing, being able to read the room, so to speak, understanding the team dynamics, how to resolve conflicts before they escalate, that kind of thing. I have to admit, I went into this thinking that mechanical know-how would be king. So why are these so-called softer skills so crucial in a field that's, let's face it, pretty darn technical?
Because no matter how advanced the technology gets, aircraft assembly still comes down to people. You can have the most sophisticated robots and computer systems, but if the humans running the shit aren't communicating, if they don't trust each other, things can fall apart pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's that human element that can make or break a project. So it sounds like it's all about finding that balance, that sweet spot between the technical expertise and those interpersonal skills you were talking about. And while we're on the topic of technical expertise, I'm curious about how aircraft assembly supervisors keep pace with all the advancements in the field. I mean, we all know how fast the world of aircraft manufacturing is changing. RoleCatcher even mentioned the growing use of automation. So how does someone in this role make sure they're not getting left behind?
Honestly, continuous learning is non-negotiable in this line of work. It's like always be learning, whether it's attending industry conferences or going after certifications or joining professional organizations. Like the guide mentioned the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, AIA, and the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, ASME. Being part of those communities, staying plugged into the latest technologies and best practices, that's how you stay ahead of the curve.
It's funny you should mention composite materials because I remember when those were first being incorporated into aircraft construction.
Yeah.
It was a game changer, but it also meant that assembly supervisors had to rewire their brains a little bit. They had to learn how to work with these new materials, adapt their methods.
Yeah, it's like learning a whole new language just to talk to the plane. That could feel overwhelming, but honestly, it also sounds kind of exciting to be on the cutting edge like that, constantly learning and growing.
Exactly. And I think that's what keeps this job from ever feeling stale. You're never just going through the motions. There's always something new to figure out.
It's like having a front row seat to the future of aviation. Okay, so we've talked about the skills, the challenges, this constant need to be learning and adapting. But let's get down to brass tacks here. How does someone actually become an aircraft assembly supervisor? Is there a typical career trajectory people follow?
You know, RoleCatcher actually lays out a pretty standard progression. Often it starts with an entry-level technician role. You're right there on the assembly line, getting your hands dirty, learning the ropes. And then from there, you might move up to assembly technician, then maybe a lead position, and finally, supervisor.
So it's a climb, but each step gives you more responsibility, more opportunities to develop those leadership skills.
Exactly. And as you move up that ladder, those softer skills we were talking about, they become even more important because at the supervisor level, you're not just responsible for your own work anymore, you're guiding and mentoring an entire team.
Okay, so let's say someone's ready to make that leap. They've got the skills, the experience, they're ready to crush it as an aircraft assembly supervisor. RoleCatcher had some really interesting tips for acing the interview, especially when it comes to showcasing those problem-solving skills and that commitment to safety. Any advice on how to really drive those points home in an interview?
I'd say the biggest thing is preparation. Don't just walk in there with some vague idea of your skills. When they ask you about problem solving, be ready to back it up with concrete examples from your own experience. Like, tell me about a time you identified a problem, how you analyzed the situation, what steps you took to find a solution. For instance, maybe you were working on an assembly and you spotted an error in the manufacturer's instructions. That's a perfect opportunity to talk about how you flagged it, how you collaborated with your team to understand the discrepancy, and ultimately how you came up with a workaround that kept the project on track.
Show, don't tell, right? Paint them a picture with your words.
Exactly. And the same goes for safety consciousness. Anyone can say they're safety oriented, but what really makes an impression is hearing about a time you went above and beyond. Maybe you spotted a potential hazard on the floor or noticed a piece of equipment wasn't properly stored. By sharing those real-world examples, you're not just talking the talk, you're proving that safety is ingrained in everything you do.
It's like you're giving them a sneak peek into how you'd operate as a supervisor. And I think that's what it all boils down to, isn't it? Being able to demonstrate that you've got the experience, the skills, and that deep-seated passion for aircraft manufacturing. It's been an amazing journey exploring the world of an aircraft assembly supervisor. And I have to say, I'm walking away with a whole new appreciation for the dedication, the precision, and the sheer brain power that goes into building those incredible machines that grace our skies. So next time you're gazing up at a plane soaring through the clouds, take a moment to think about the skilled hands and the sharp minds that made that flight possible. From the initial assembly line to that final takeoff, it's a symphony of coordination, expertise, and an unwavering commitment to excellence. Thanks for joining us on this incredible deep dive. And until next time, happy flying.